Hi everyone, it's Paula here for this week's Vision in Action recording. And today is August 6th, 2021, and I want to talk to you about how to live a courageous life. So, I want to talk about what is the recipe really to live a courageous life. I want to talk about that so you can actually start making the changes in your life that you maybe have been feeling in your heart for a long time. But instead of being able to move forward with those ideas and dreams and ways of being that you have, we end up avoiding and procrastinating. We get stuck. So, living a courageous life allows us to get unstuck from these patterns that don't really work for us. And one thing that I know for sure is that you, just like so many other parents, are probably experiencing that this is really hard. It's just so hard to change these patterns. And when we come from this place of it's hard, it's hard, it's hard, we tend to end up feeling pretty hopeless. We tend to end up feeling pretty resigned about life, just kind of settling in for mediocrity, settling in for an okay life instead of incredible life, a life that is worth living. So instead of all that, we end up being in this survival mode. Many people, many parents are struggling with that. And as a result, the old patterns are being repeated over and over again. So today I want to show you the value of courage and give you really step-by-step practical tools of how do you build courage and why aren't we courageous to begin with? Like what's in the way of us being courageous so that you can move past all that. And one of the biggest things that's in the way is discomfort. So think about it this way. Instead of avoiding the discomfort, see the discomfort as the price for your freedom. That's the price that we get to pay to really live a free, authentic, vision driven life. Yeah, it's going to be uncomfortable and it's so worth it. So we get to shift our mindset around how do we deal with and manage discomfort and what is our relationship with fear. I'm going to talk about that. So the parents who I've worked with who have really followed my steps, who have really taken it into heart how important it is to be courageous, to stretch yourself, to do things differently, they are really experiencing some major shifts in their families. They are experiencing more freedom, more peace because they are feeling more peaceful and accepting inside, and the children tend to feel that too. So a lot of the journey for these parents have been like letting go of old ideas, letting go of old paradigms, letting go of expectations and should haves and all these kinds of things that was really uncomfortable for them. But now that they have done that, they are really experiencing a really deeper connection with their children. And the kids feel that they resonate with that and they are really feeling that the parents are more present to them. And guess what kids do when they are feeling that somebody's present for them? They feel connected, they feel safe. Therefore, all their negative behaviors tend to also decrease. So this is why courage is important. It's a muscle that you get to develop, and it's going to lead you to a life that is more fulfilling. It's kind of like we gotta shake things up to wake up, shake up to wake up. Like one of my coaches, Judith Rich, says in her book, it's called Beyond the Box. I'm gonna write that in the resources section of this call so you can access that. So let's begin. Why do we shy away from courage? Like why don't we why are we not just wired to like yay be adventurous and deal with discomfort, and fear is not even a thing for us? Like most of us, we are not that way. However, when we were children, we were. I mean, imagine what courage does it take to walk. You fall down all the time. You have constant experiences of failure, right? But imagine if we didn't move through those things, if we didn't pick ourselves up, we would never learn to walk. So for little toddler who is learning to walk, they're not going to sit and throw a tantrum and say, boo-hoo, I'm a failure, like I'm too scared, let me not do this. It's not until later on in life we start being afraid of things. We start being afraid of things that involve risk. And the reason for that is that we are kind of addicted to certainty. We are addicted to controlling things and having things in a certain way. So making sure that there is predictability, that there's safety, that we know what's happening next, and that makes us feel comfortable. That helps us stay in this comfort zone. However, this is only an illusion. So this feeling protected and safe, it's only an illusion, because you know what? No matter how hard we try, we cannot control life. We can't. There's so many factors that are outside of our hands. So what we end up actually just doing is just feeling really, really exhausted, feeling really, really exhausted about that. So we get to let go of that addiction to certainty, and move outside of our box of being comfortable, because it is this box of being comfortable that really causes us to be stuck. That's the piece that really, when we are repeating the same thing over and over again, we are going to have the same results. We are going to have the same outcome. Therefore, we need to do something completely differently. The solutions lie outside the box, just like Judith Rich says in her book, the solutions are outside the box. Okay, so in order for us to get outside the box, we get to accept ambiguity of life. We get to accept that, okay, well, things are just not clear right now. It's uncomfortable and it's not clear, and I don't know what's gonna happen, and I can't control these things. And we get to lean into that. We get to lean into that and decide that that's okay right now. This process of leaning into things is extremely valuable, because you're learning so much from leaning into whatever discomfort it is that you're leaning into anxiety, leaning into our fears, leaning into not knowing, like it's this big black hole that we don't know what's going to happen. And really realizing that we are the source and the creator of our own lives. We are the ones who can choose our life experience. We are the ones who can design the way our lives look like. So my invitation here is to be in full responsibility about your life and the results that you are facing, because the results that we have in life are exactly what we are manifesting. Nobody else is manifesting this for us. And remember, if you're saying like, no, Paula, I don't want this. I certainly don't want these kids to be so dysregulated and so disrespectful. And so, no, that's not what I want. Yet somehow it's still there, because the old pattern is unconsciously being repeated, and we can't expect the children to change. It's you who get to have an internal transformation through which the kids, the world will look a whole lot different. That's how you step into responsibility, by stopping waiting around that other people are going to change, and stop complaining about life the way it is right now, and instead of move yourself into empowerment and start doing something about it. So some things that you can help and support yourself with this is have a clear vision. Have a clear vision of what you want in life, and get clear on, this is what I want, this is what I don't want. And then you choose and you take action. So it's all about act. Every little thing you take moves you forward. Like I have so many things on my plate. It's ridiculous. I have more things on my plate than I have ever have in my life. And I am taking better care of myself. I'm more social, more connected than I have ever been in my life, because that's important to me. I put the first things first. So my vision for all these things that are happening in my life, sometimes people say like, oh, I'm juggling all these balls. So I don't have balls up in the air that just like fall. I have things waiting in line. So I see all these things that are happening, that I'm moving forward. I'm like pushing them forward, like in whatever way I can. And sometimes it could be 15 minutes here. Okay, 5 minutes here. Now I have 30 minutes here. So I'm in action. And yeah, maybe I don't get to complete this whole thing because some of these are big projects, but I keep pushing things. So they are not up in the air. They are, I don't even know what they are, but I just keep pushing them forward so that like there's a movement and change that is happening. So become aware of your addiction to certainty and what is it costing you in your life. So I want you to journal about what is something that you have been avoiding in your life. Like, is there a dream? Is there something? Sometimes it could be even really ending a relationship or starting a relationship. In my marriage, so I'm divorced for about 6 years now, and probably the last 4 or 5 years was like avoiding what I got to do, and what my ex-husband and I got to do together and create that. And when we finally did, it's beautiful, because that freed both of us to do things in life now. And he is happy, I am happy, and we have still very connected friendship that has developed as a result. So that was like 4 or 5 years of avoiding and so many other things. So I want you to even list them down, like what is something that you have been avoiding, something that you really have been wanting to do, and know you get to do that, but you're just avoiding it because you don't know what's on the other side. And then thinking about, okay, what's really in the way, what is really preventing me from taking the steps that I know I need to take. Okay, so that is talking about the recipe for courageous life. Really becoming aware of the ambiguity and accepting discomfort, learning to tolerate that is your ingredient number one. Ingredient number two is developing courage. And think about courage is like a muscle. So when we develop courage, we get to learn to move towards the things that scare us instead of moving away from the things that scare us. I love the saying from Marcus Aurelius. I think he was like some Roman emperor and a philosopher. So he was like, what's in the way becomes the way. And I like that, because that indicates where do I get to go in life? Like when I feel like there's an obstacle here, that's where I actually get to go and experience that. And obstacles can be actual life circumstances. They could be emotional or mental blocks or whatever it is. So you get to, again, stepping into responsibility versus being, really upset or irritated about it. And I wasn't in my responsibility today, because I was very irritated with the San Diego Union Tribune, who keeps sending me these e-newspaper every single day. I don't want more emails, and I'm not reading it. And I had canceled it in April, and it's still coming through. So I'm calling them, and I found out that I even have a $10 balance. And I was just so irritated. I had to be on the phone for, gosh, probably a good 20 minutes just to pay them the $10. And I was completely in my victim, blaming, irritating, when it's in the end, it was my responsibility to read the fine print that said I had a free trial, that I I get to call and cancel it on time, which of course I didn't. So, but I was blaming and projecting this outward. So moving towards, so that was like, yeah, it's uncomfortable sometimes to acknowledge our own responsibility about something, right? So think about Marcus Aurelius, think about in your life, like, okay, what is uncomfortable? What's in the way? And how can that become a way? You know, really stepping into the distinction of turning obstacles into opportunities, turning obstacles into opportunities. All this is developing courage. All this is about, you know, building your courage muscles. So courage is not about, I'm going to wait around until to do something until I feel courageous. No, you do something no matter how fearful you are, because your vision is bigger than your fear. And through that, you actually develop confidence and courage. And my invitation is just to, yeah, be curious. How about that? So how about just being curious instead of being like fearful or judgmental, or even if you're fearful, that's okay. Those are just like normal, natural responses, but also having a tint of curiosity in that fear, you know, and really creating the courage. So my question here is, what can you create to move towards, to stretch yourself? Part of all the leadership programs that I am taking is we intentionally do crazy things. We intentionally do things that are super, super uncomfortable, because when I do this thing here and I intentionally stretch myself, then I can also make these other bigger changes in my life as a result. That is usually uncomfortable because I get to be outside of my comfort zone and my box. Okay. And what are the benefits? So if you have more courage, if you're able to do the things that you really want to do, what are the benefits of that? Like how is life going to change? So like really, instead of focusing on the fear, like think about your awareness like a flashlight. Like you can choose, do I focus on the fear? Do I focus on, you know, what are the benefits if I'm uncomfortable and I'm courageous? Okay. The other way to develop courage. So we are talking about how to build the courage muscle. So one way is you move towards it. You move towards instead of moving away. The other thing is to befriend fear. So many times when we are experiencing fear or we are experiencing anxiety, we say, no, go away. I don't want this. What's wrong with me? And we freeze. We get this like freeze response, like, oh my God, like deer in the headlights. I can't do anything. And then we're stuck in that for years. Oh my goodness, I'm been a psychotherapist. I've probably worked by hundreds and hundreds of people in my entire life and in my career. And I've worked with people who are stuck 10 years, 2 decades, 3 decades easily until we start untangling things. So you get to befriend the fear. Fear is going to be there. Fear is always going to be part of our lives. That's just how our brain is wired. So we get to, you know, kind of give a different meaning to it. It's not something that we shouldn't be afraid of the fear, but really welcome the fear. And some ways to do that is just breathing into it. Like when you feel it in your body, close your eyes. You could do this right now. Close your eyes, take a deep breath. And then notice where you hold some fear or tension or worry in your body. And then you are just finding that area in your body and you're breathing into it. And then you're just curious about it. Just be witness to it. There's no need to try to change it, no need to try to like push it away or anything like that. You're just simply witnessing and being with it. And what this opens up for you is you realize that the fear is actually nothing scary. And when we step out of fear, when we don't let the fear run our lives anymore, now we can open to possibilities. Like life opens up to possibilities now. Pretty cool. So we can have more freedom. You can be who you were born to be, really. You can be in integrity with yourself, right? So befriending the fear and transforming the worry and anxiety into sense of adventure. Like, it's a new day. I have never lived this way before. I never will live this way before. What is going to happen? Like, not like what's going to happen, like what's going to happen today? I'm curious, I'm open, I'm receptive. Universe, here I am. What's going to happen today? You know, and coming from this mindset, so now you're putting a whole different kind of energy vibe into the universe. And when we have this different energy of openness and receptiveness, it's like an antenna that we are signaling to the universe, like, okay, good things can come. You know, you are now seeing the world in a much like bigger TV, or I don't know what wider view. Wider view is what I'm looking at versus tunnel vision. That's part of fear. So sense of adventure, focusing on possibilities, and then think about that again. So journal questions here is what opens up for you when you're able to like move through fear. So even if there is fear, but you're not letting it dictate your actions. You're not letting it dictate your actions. You're just like, okay, it's there and I'm doing this. It's there and I'm going to open up to this person and tell them how I feel, or I'm going to clear something with this person, or I'm going to apologize to my children because I recognize that I did something wrong, or I yelled at them, or I'm going to be vulnerable and tell my child, like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do, you know, versus having to be the know-it-all all the time. It's exhausting. You don't have to know it. Parenting is co-creation with the child. That's what I always say. Like, let go of any pressure you're putting on yourself. It's a co-creation with your kiddo. You can't know how the moment is going to be until you are in the moment. So stop worrying about it. You know, and yes, for parents who are desiring to be parents and don't have kids, yes, you can prepare and you can read and all those things, but don't think that you know it all and that you have to know it all, because again, your kiddo comes into this world and then you start this dance of parenting. And it's like you are leading and the child is leading, and you are leading and the child is leading, versus power struggle. So going different ways, like, yeah. So think about parenting as a dance and co-creation. So surrendering into that. How about that? That's pretty courageous thing to do, right? That's befriending the fear of like, oh, am I gonna mess something up? So oof, I'm so sorry. There's so many, like, I really do apologize. There's so many experts in the parenting field that are saying all kinds of stuff that is not true. Like one set of parents that I'm working with, like, we're just undoing stuff. Like they had read and learned about all these crazy things, what they're supposed to do with kids, and being first time parents, they didn't know, so they followed that. And I was like, no. So I do apologize. I apologize for the sake of the profession, because there are so many people with all kinds of weird messages, and some people will think that my message is weird too. And you know what? That is a-okay. That's a price I'm willing to pay. Okay, I digress. Let me look at my notes. Okay. Oh, and the third way to develop your courage muscle. So the first one was moving towards instead of moving away. We are befriending fear. And then we live the life like it was your last day. like it was your last day, because it could be, we don't know. And I don't try to be morbid here, but death is not talked about enough. It's a taboo. It's like, and there's a lot of denial of aging and dying, and we want to look young and feel young, and here's this pill or that pill or this machine or lotion or liposuction or whatever under the sky it is to make us appear younger, to make us to make us you know, deny the inevitable, that we are all moving towards the same direction. That's one certain thing in life. So what if we lived each day like it was our last? Because the idea behind that is like, well, I'm gonna enjoy life. I'm going to be present. I'm going to be connected. I'm going to be open hearted. I will not have any regrets. Like a couple years ago, I made this decision to, like, because I was tired. I was tired of my brain going at the end of the night, like trying to sleep, going to bed, like, should have said this, should have done that. I didn't do that, blah, 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 blah. Round and round it goes. And I'm like, well, this is so unnecessary. Why don't I just go ahead and do the things and say the things that I'm supposed to, like, that I feel in my heart or my soul, my mind to say? So my idea was like, okay, if I just clear things throughout the day and I'm just, being my authentic self, then at the end of the night, like, there's nothing to chew on, so to speak. There's nothing to, like, try to, there's no regrets. There's no regrets. So living your life, like, every day like it was your last day, making every day the best day of your life. And there's actually research. Irvin Yalom, do I have his book? I don't have his book nearby here. Anyways, he is an existential psychologist, and a lot of his work was around terminal cancer patients. So he was doing groups for them, helping to cope with things, and preparing for the inevitable, which for them was death. They were on limited time. We are all on limited time. We are all here on borrowed time. So the thing that he came out of his research was that the patients were actually happy. Like, all the things that were not important, like the things that we kind of get stuck in that hamster wheel, that wasn't the thing for these patients, because they just focused on the things that mattered the most, which was family, relationship, connections. The research also found out that there was actually less fear, more courage for taking risks, and overall improvement in the life experience, and really enjoying being in the present moment, enjoying little things like the sunshine or the rain or the clouds up in the sky, whether it's hot or cold. It's just like, wow, I'm alive. I have another day on this beautiful world of ours. So my point is, let's not wait to have cancer or anything like that to experience life fully. Like, let's wake up and have fun, and let's be joyful every day. Enjoy your kids. My goodness, they are right there in front of you. They're right there in front of you, and they are growing so fast that soon enough you realize, like, well, what happened to them? They are these adult men and these gorgeous, beautiful women. So life goes fast. So live each day like it was your last. Okay. Couple other things that I want to say, I want to put into our recipe for living a courageous life. And these are just kind of some basic, very important things. Like, if you ground yourself on all these things that I talk about today, you will have more freedom and courage in your life. life. So one really, really important thing that we don't even realize that lies heavy in our hearts is anything that has to do with interpersonal relationships, and anything that any regrets, holding on to resentment, holding on to past hurts, not having maybe not having voiced what you really wanted to say. So clearing relationships versus just leaving things hanging is really, really important. And I've done this. Every time I've done this, there is a sense of relief and there's lightness after doing it, even though it's uncomfortable, because you get to be honest about how you're feeling. You get to be honest and you get to be in integrity with yourself. But every time I've done this, there's a feeling of lightness, and I realize, like, wow, I did not even notice how burdensome that was for me, how I carried it somewhere in my body. So, and this is especially important with your children. So when something happens, that you repair and connect right away. Repair and reconnect right away. So doing this clearing with your kids immediately, and not expecting yourself to be a perfect parent. Of course, you're going to lose your cool. There will be times, and that's perfectly fine. What's actually important is that repair and connection and that clearing. And talking with adult survivors of childhood abuse, that's their biggest wish. Like, they don't even care, like, okay, all these bad things happened, I can deal with that. I can deal with being hit or spanked or whatever it was. But what was most hurtful is there was no apology, there was no responsibility, there was no, like, I'm sorry. So that those words, I apologize, I'm so sorry, are very powerful. So clearing relationships, just having a clean slate with that, however that looks like, it doesn't matter, but doing whatever it takes to clear. And this doesn't mean staying in an abusive relationship or anything like that. It could just mean you expressing yourself in some ways about how you're feeling, about the way you're being treated. And this is about also taking responsibility, so that when you recognize that you've done something wrong, that you are in full responsibility and that you take the first step. You don't wait around for other people to reach out to you, but you step into responsibility, your own empowerment. You're in charge of your life and your life experience, and that you do that. So clearing relationships, super important. And then the last two that are important as well, again, we are talking about courageous recipe for courageous life, is give up the need to look good and give up to be right. Like, wow, this is a powerful recipe. I just want to review it quickly. Letting go of the addiction to certainty. That was the first one. Developing courage, and the steps to develop courage were moving towards instead of moving away, befriending fear, living each day like it was your last. And then we clean relationships, we clear relationships, and the final ones are give up the need to look good and give up the need to be right. So much effort, so much energy goes to needing to be right, to our own detriment. Sometimes we hold on to beliefs and attitudes that we know don't serve us, because it allows us to be right about something. It allows us to be right. And sometimes the ego wants to be right at no matter what cost. It doesn't care whether it's good or healthy or wholesome for you or not. But you get to be right. You get to be right that so and so is a bad person, and this and that person is this way. I know a lot of the times for parents, it's about, you get to be right about your kids. And when you believe you are right about something, it makes the other person wrong. So if you feel, I'm right about this, that automatically means that my kid is wrong. Something's wrong with my kid. Something is going on. Something needs to be fixed. So it creates this energetically, even if it's not spoken outwardly. Children do feel this. They feel it when parents bring them to therapy and say, like, hey, I just want my child to be happy. Why are they not happy? I just want them to be happy. And the kiddo is anxious and depressed. How's the child going to feel? What's wrong with me? I can't please my mom, dad. They just want me to be happy. I'm not happy. So sometimes the journey begins just by accepting of what is. So giving up the need to be right is very liberating. It liberates you and it liberates everybody else too. And now you can step into possibility, co-creation, synergy. We don't need to be right. It's completely unnecessary. Completely unnecessary. It's impossible to, like, who's right, who's wrong type of thing. So letting go of that, it was one of the big ones. And the other one was need to look good, worrying about what other people think, or what might they say, and how do I look to others? Am I looking this way or that way? Am I perfect? Putting on a lot of facades and masks that are absolutely exhausting. So it takes courage to take those masks off. It takes courage to stop pretending that, hey, I'm great, everything is still fine, when you are actually suffering from inside. So instead of looking good, be authentic, be vulnerable. So that is my invitation for this week. And with this knowledge, with this information, to intentionally do things that scare you every single day. Just with mindfulness and awareness, stretching yourself every single day of your life so you can keep expanding and evolving. I wish there was a better way. I wish there was a better, different way, but there isn't. This is the way. Growth is uncomfortable. Growth is painful. And that is the price for your freedom. And I want to end with a poem that I just discovered. Maybe you know this already, but I just discovered this and it spoke to me. So I'm going to read it here to you. It's called Footprints in the Sand. Okay. One night, a man had a dream. He dreamed he was walking along the beach with the Lord. Across the sky flashed scenes from his life. Each scene, he noticed two sets of footprints in the sand, one belonging to him and the other to the Lord. When the last scene of his life flashed before him, he looked back at the footprints in the sand. He noticed that many times along the path of his life, there was only one set of footprints. He also noticed that it happened at the very lowest and saddest times in his life. This really bothered him, and he questioned the Lord about it. Lord, you said that once I decided to follow you, you'd walk with me all the way. But I have noticed that during the most troublesome times in my life, there is only one set of footprints. I don't understand why, when I needed you the most, you would leave me. Why would you do that? And the Lord replied, my son, my precious child, I love you and I would never leave you. During your times of trial and suffering, when you see only one set of footprints, it was then when I carried you. Isn't that beautiful? So that we can surrender, fully surrender, whether you call it Lord or God or the universe, life itself, it doesn't matter what you call it, but that you can surrender and know that you are carried, and that you are surrounded by love and that you are love. And in that, nothing can go ever wrong. There is no wrong choice or decision you can take because you are surrounded by love. Whether you go this way or that way, you cannot run away from it. So I hope that this little poem here in the end helps you remember that you are carried so that you can let go of that certainty, that you can take those steps to live a courageous, open-hearted life. Okay, good luck with everything. Do some journaling around all these questions, and it's really about intentional practice to be courageous, to build those courage muscles. Okay, bye now. See you next week.